Hello there and welcome to another Coffee with Colm, and thank you for joining me. Had an experience during the week. I was driving through Ireland's heartlands and I came up to a road works outside a small town, and I noticed that when I was stopped at the traffic lights I noticed there was a housing estate into my left. And you know the type of thing, there were some large homes, I think about half a dozen large homes at the very front of the estate, probably 4 or 5 bedroom homes with their nice front lawns all manicured, 2 cars in the driveway. It was early in the morning, and I noticed there was a road in the middle between sort of 3 and 3, a road in the middle leading back into the estate where there were other houses. I have to assume, based on my knowledge of housing estates in Ireland, that these were the smaller houses, the 2 and 3 bedroom homes in the back. And it got me thinking about some stuff I read some years ago when I was trying to read some of Adam Smith's work. Adam Smith is known as the father of modern economics, and he wrote a book called The Wealth of Nations back in 1776 of all things. We're still referring to it today. Anyway, Adam Smith was talking about the lawn, the humble lawn and its early beginnings, and I found it fascinating. He said that back in the day, land was needed for sustenance. Land was needed for growing crops on and for keeping animals on to keep people alive. And it was only as people's wealth began to increase that they began to not need all of the land that they had for animals and plants. So some people began to set aside a portion of their land and just allow it to have grass on and flowers on. Such opulence. And then, of course, us being human, people began to create that plot of land outside the front door, so whoever came to the gate and was walking in would be able to say, oh my goodness, would you look at the Joneses here? And of course the keeping up with the Joneses began. But the lawn back in the day was the ultimate status symbol. So roll forward a few hundred years and what's changed? In one sense everything, and in another sense nothing at all. We all deserve to get ahead, and anybody who deserves to get ahead deserves the rewards of that getting ahead. So I'm not here to criticize anybody's status symbols at all, but I think we need to recognize them for what they are. So when we upgrade the car or upgrade the phone or go on the fancy holiday or buy the bigger house at the front of the estate, yes, of course we're rewarding ourselves for a job well done and happy days, but in a lot of people's psyche there is this thing that you know what, I'm doing great, thank you very much, life is good, and I wish you well in your journey, but I'm doing fine. And it got me thinking of the status symbols of today, and the Rolex watch being one. I think we're all familiar with the Rolex watch, and it's one of those things that when you see somebody wearing a Rolex, you're wondering, is it real or is it fake? But either way, it's caught your attention, and anybody who's wearing a Rolex watch, whether real or fake, is probably trying to say, lads, do you know what, I'm doing very well, thank you very much, and I hope you're doing okay too. So the Rolex watch is the ultimate status symbol today, as the humble lawn was back in Adam Smith's time. Interesting stuff. Anyway, got me thinking that money is time. And you're thinking, Colm, I think you got that wrong. Don't you mean time is money? No, I don't mean time is money. I mean money is time. Let me explain. Time is money as a phrase sort of annoys me, to be honest, right? Because it's suggesting that unless I'm out there lashing it out, baiting it out 24/7, 365 to make money, then I'm a loser. And I'll tell you one thing, I am not a loser. And I don't work 24/7, 365, and I've no intention of working 24/7, 365 to keep up the Joneses or anybody else. Right? Life is for living, and money is time. Not time is money, money is time. For you and I to earn money, typically, at least when we're starting out, before we discover the magic of leverage, which is for another day, we'll talk about that another day. But before we discover the magic of leverage, when you and I start out, we trade our time for money. So money is time. And a very simple example would be somebody on minimum wage. In Ireland at the moment, minimum wage I think is about €10.65. So let's imagine after tax somebody comes out with, pick a figure, €7. €7 per hour of effort. €7 for the time that they invest. And then they go to the local coffee shop, right? And they buy a cup of coffee, buy a cappuccino for $3.50. How much does that cost them? Half an hour. That's cost them half an hour of their life. And here's the problem. Time is the only truly irreplaceable resource on the planet for you and I. Time itself is infinite. Time for you and I is not infinite. It's very finite. The average life expectancy is 71 years. And my friend, money is time. Unless you figure out how to leverage yourself, and as I say, that's for another day. You got to be aware that money is time. And every time that you put your hand in your pocket to buy a cup of coffee or a newspaper or a Rolex watch or a house or a car or an iPad or an iPhone or whatever it might be, just remember, translate the cost of that back into the net take-home pay that you have, and figure out how many minutes, how many hours, how many days, how many weeks, how many months, how many years in the case of a mortgage of your life are you expending to have that nicety. Not criticizing any of it, by the way. I'm just I'm thinking out loud for myself, and obviously for you out there as well. So it's not time is money anymore. It's money is time. And thank you for joining me for this week's Coffee with Colm. I hope and trust you got something from it. I think it's important that you consider what's been shared here today and apply it into your thinking for this next week. And then equally as importantly, come back next week and we'll share another coffee together and I'll ruminate on some other aspect of life and business. Between now and then, get some great coffee, get some fresh air, get some R&R. If you spend a lot of time with people, I recommend you go spend some time alone. Conversely, if you spend too much time alone, I recommend you get out and meet some people. And then when the time is right, and only when the time is right, get your head back in the game, get organised for next week, get stuck in, make next week count, but remember that money is time, and I'll see you here this time next week for another Coffee with Colm. Sláinte. I love great coffee. Talk to you soon. Bye for now.